Alex, you have been picking so much awesome Cervon-esque magic. And today we're getting to what I remember is, oddly enough, as a child, being a controversial period uh, for Cervon, because later on I realized that the shenanigans we heard about were nonsense, right?
Mm.
It was nonsense. So the Vernon Chronicles came out when we were kids.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
Vernon Chronicles were all the incredible Vernon stuff that was either left on the cutting room floor or considered too secret or too elite or too difficult
Be
to put
difficult
in,
mostly.
to
Totally.
put in the classic Vernon books.
Right.
The what's the old Steve Beam joke? The inner, further, deeper, wetter, hotter secrets of card magic. That used to be because it was more inner secret. It was inner secrets, more inner secrets,
And further
further, and then it was ultimate inner secret.
ultimate secrets.
And so then when we were in the 90s came out the Lost Inner Secrets, which was more Lost Inner Secrets, more hotter, deeper, wetter inner secrets. So the point being is Vernon was gone.
Ever dwindling bucket of secrets.
Vernon was gone, right? And if they didn't have one of Vernon's students who could really do everything and really break it all down, they couldn't have put the book together, and they certainly couldn't have had any video that showed people the tricks because there's only one or two people in the universe that could even do that stuff, right?
Mm.
And it was Bruce. It was Bruce Cervon that could do that stuff. So I remember the reviews going, man, I wish it wasn't Bruce Cervon doing this stuff. I wish I could see Vernon doing this stuff. And, then I got older and realized that being able to watch Bruce do this stuff was literally,
Closest you're going to get.
it was a blessing like you couldn't believe, because otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. The stuff wouldn't have existed at all. So you've picked three big ones today, right? Three.
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. And these are all like real good showpieces, and they're, they elevate the thinking on these plots. If you've seen anything that looks like these, it's got that Vernon touch, So it's awesome. Let me just rip one open here. Let's just get this thing going on here.
Yeah, let's crack open a freshie and then let's card geek out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes. Let's do this thing.
I got my club deck rocking, practicing my dropping.
Practicing dropping.
Yeah, it's
You got to learn to pick stuff up too. It's
the act is picking up. Can you believe I haven't?
Let's get into this thing.
Let me pick up my card. All right, let's do it.
Are you ready? You ready?
All right.
Magicians have various ways of doing things, and I'm sure you've seen one. Like, say, for example, if a magician took a card like this and he put it down here on the table and it changed into a different card, I just want you to know that card does not really and truly change. What happens is that the magician switches that card, or he exchanges the card. He doesn't change it, he exchanges it. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, this is a kind of an interesting concept for people who don't know anything about magic, but I'm going to do a trick right now without a shadow of a doubt. The card is not exchanged, a card is changed. Actually, really, truly changed.
Okay.
Now here, I'll tell you what, would you mind taking out one for me?
No problem.
That's good. Now I will, once more, I will turn my head when I do that to show it to everybody all around the room, and I'm not going to look, all right?
Pinky is activated.
Has everyone seen the card? Place the card back into the deck. It's perfect. There we are. Somewhere in the deck is your card, and you know what? Hey, I don't care where it is. I mean, that's the least of my problems. Where your card is means nothing, because I'm not going to even use your card. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to use 3 other cards. Those 3 other cards are very, very particular cards. 3 particular cards. One of these 3 cards is going to change into the card you selected. I'm not going to switch it. It's going to change. Therefore, and thereby, ruining an entire deck of cards. See? It's going to do, but for you, I'm going to destroy it. I don't care. I'll destroy the deck of cards just for you. All right? Hey, this is great, isn't it? Isn't this a doll thing to do? You know what I mean? All right. 3 cards, that's all, no more or less. And it's very easy to remember these 3 cards. The 3 cards are an Ace of Hearts, the 2 of Hearts, and, of course, the 3 of Hearts. Okay? 1, 2, 3. One of these 3 cards is going to change into your selected card. It's your choice. If you say the ace will change to your card. You will say the two will change into your card. The 3, same thing. You call it, we do it.
Okay. How about the ace?
That's the one you want?
Yes.
You're sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
All right. We'll put the ace on the front, like this, and we'll sandwich it between the other 2 cards. Right?
Uh-huh.
Now, no phony stuff, everything legitimate. Let me show you one more time, because this is no doubt the last time that you're going to see the ace of hearts. You look a little skeptical at this.
I think I am.
No, this is serious. This is very serious stuff.
Okay.
The ace of hearts is going to change into your card. I want you to hold your hand out like that, flat for me. All right. We put the ace on your hand. Now, do you remember what these other 2 cards were?
Yes. Yes.
I had to show you first. You see? Hey, well, oh yeah, I remember.
Short
No
memory.
problem. All right. A 2 and a 3. If I wave that 2 and 3 over your ace, what was the name of the card, the one that you took out of the deck?
7 of spades.
7 of spades, yes.
Turn it over.
All right.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've always felt like when you're doing that sort of a trick and it's only 2 cards and one of them vanishes, it's a little bit too much like gilding the lily, you know what I mean? But with that, there's enough smoke that all of that's believable, and I like it. I think it's a really good trick.
Say a little bit more. Hey, Clark made the scene. Say a little bit more. When you say gilding the lily, what do you mean? It's a little bit, what?
Like you're making a flower into metal. Like it's just too much. You know what I mean? It's like over the top. Like I think you're losing the magic. It's like you're cracking the egg. If you're holding an egg, it's like you're squeezing too tight. You know what I mean? There's just not enough places to go to so that there's smoke. If it's just there or there and you're looking at the other place, I think it's there. You know what I mean?
It's got to be in that packet of other 2 cards kind of thing? That's got to be more?
That's got to be a packet of cards, and that one of them's a single and one's a packet now. With that, there's enough smoke that you can't really place where anything could be, and I think it's a little more magical, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky because when you're looking at those Vernon constructions, they tend to work. And, to be honest, I have to say, they started to look a lot better after I'd been obsessed with cards for like 15 plus years. So I think it's like tough, right? Because it's always hard to know how that stuff is going to play to a person that hasn't been thinking about it very, very long. And even sometimes whether it's as good to other people
as we think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt when we were watching Bruce a couple days ago, you and I are loving these effects, and we're able to sort of laugh at Bruce's kind of idiosyncrasies as a performer.
Yeah.
And we miss Bruce, and that's fun. But I think a lot of people, they see Bruce perform and they see Bruce's, kind of slightly combative style, and they see the magic, and they don't necessarily separate the two, and they don't necessarily like the magic because I don't know. Just give us a 1 in the chat if you think Bruce's tricks are beautiful. Legit. Because we don't know. See? We don't know.
That's the personality. That's the personality that's abrasive. There's no doubt.
I mean, I think there is no doubt, but I also think that being able to separate that gum from the hair is
important, especially as a magician, because otherwise all of the stuff of Bruce just sort of gets thrown out. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's so much good magic in Bruce's world that like it would be a shame to just discount it because I don't really like him as a person. He rubs me wrong. Especially
the Afternoon Astonishment crew is well heeled to this because we've done Scotty York, and that's like the whole thing is really an exercise.
Kind of as abrasive as you get, yeah.
And who is that other fellow? Right, I've blocked it out. The fellow with the shtick in Minnesota, Twin Cities.
Oh, Johnny Paul, right?
Wow.
Wow.
I think watching Bruce, hey. This is a
gentleman.
he's no Johnny Paul.
He's gonna try to fall.
All right, here's another one. I know we're gonna move on here, but watching Bruce brings up another thought as a card magician. I, for one, I'm not into taking the sleeve, and maybe it's all the Patrick Highcomb stuff. Remember how we had that lecture from Patrick Highcomb, my
Right.
old friend in the fashion industry, who came in and sort of, you know,
I know Patrick, and I love Patrick. He changed my life.
oh, because we talked when I was learning how to dress for work. We all made friends, and we were.
And Patrick helped me pick out some clothes. You helped me pick out. It changed my life. It changed my life. I learned how to dress professionally, and go and entertain people, and like look like I'm a step above the people I'm working for.
And it was good for biz, right? It was good for magic.
The biz in a huge way.
Okay, and better than having that Sharpie cover we talked about last time.
Better than the Sharpie cover. That's for sure.
So ever since, like, Patrick, and you should know, club members, go to the back room if you're interested at all. I had Patrick come in and give the lecture that magicians have been waiting for, and it's beautiful. It's a good lecture on how to dress as a magician, or a human, really, if you have to go out. Yeah, but ever since then, and maybe before, I have always been, how magicians sometimes will roll up their sleeves, and they'll be wearing a suit coat, and they'll roll up their suit coat sleeves and their sleeves because it's important that that there's nothing up the sleeves. In fact, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Denny Haney believed that was important, right? Now, but Denny,
I have a friend that thinks that's important too. That's the way he works. Totally.
And I understand why, but I have to say personally, whenever I see that, maybe it was Patrick's energy on me, I think my feeling is, I don't know, man. Take a look at my wrists, but I'm not going to do that. It is going to ruining the suit. I would rather use the magic way to combat the sleeve theory than roll up my sleeves. So watching Bruce, it's very clear that Bruce agreed with that, because Bruce has got his cuffs. Bruce is very clear. And I think we understand from that Vernon probably was on the same page.
I'm sure he was on the same page.
So that was a great trick. And it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like, in and amongst a lot of those Vernon tricks, one could say that a lot of those Vernon tricks are cardmen's tricks. They're card guy for card guy tricks. And a lot of them. And then nestled amongst them are some of the all-time great sleight-of-hand classics for anybody. Right. They're in there everywhere. But then in between them, you have these kind of, they almost seem like they're the kind of things card guys work on for their own sake, and then routined and performed. You know what I mean? Right. I feel like this was one of those. I feel like he worked out a lovely little switch and routined it into a beautiful little challenge effect. And you're saying, and if you like it, I think that's a pretty good sign, because I have a feeling, you tend not to like stuff that much if it fits in that category. I think most of the time.
Mostly that stuff kind of rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, but this one, it feels like a good magical thing, and this would be like a great lead into something where something really changes or something really vanishes, or if you're using it to like explain the difference between a switch and a vanish or something. This would be like a great intro piece to a bigger piece of magic that maybe wasn't a card trick. You know what I mean? Just to illustrate a principle, to like try to have the spectators feel like they're more on the same page with you. I love that kind of stuff, and I think this trick is a good device for that.
Yeah, it also had an interesting, good presentational premise. One of the things we're seeing with Bruce is he's often got a line or two, a setup line or two, like with all backs the other day. He's got a setup or two that anyone can use, which is good, which helps the trick.
Makes it all possible. Totally.
Yeah, like his line about ruining the deck and getting rid of the cards, and the way he commits to it, you can certainly use that as a deck switch, or as a way to unwind having the deck out and get into another thing. I mean, there's a really useful stuff there, right? Yeah. And useful lines that might have been useful in all kinds of tricks. Like you can picture when because think about it, Bruce is doing a lot of magic. He's doing the Lost Inner Secret. So a lot of it is routining old little ideas that they talked about for a couple of weeks 30 years ago, right? And he's turning it into a trick and performing it so that it can have life in this video series, so that people can see the magic. But so the way you do a lot of that stuff is you take commercial storylines, plot lines, pattern lines that you use in routines you use more often and you use it to set up this idea so that you can show this trick. I mean, that's the method, right? So I guess the point being is like when you see Bruce using these lines, if you consider there's a lot of tricks you could set up exactly how he did that with. You know what I mean? Anytime you change a card, you can say what he just said. If you're going to do wrong card, right card, right? You can say, I'm going to take this joker, I'm going to place it aside, right? It's not turning into the 10. It's actually, I'm literally changing this card forever. So I take the ace of spades, I place it on the table, and it turns into your card. I got 2 of 1 and no ace of spades. This deck
I'm ruining this deck for your entertainment pleasure.
Right. So a moment of respect. You can really see it working with virtually any trick where there's a change, right?
Totally.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And that to me is like almost that's the thing I'll use from that trick probably the most. Let's do another one.
All right. And this one I think is definitely more in the realm of one that pleases everybody. You know, this is one of those tricks that I think is a classic. I've done it. I know you've done it. I think everybody that's played with card magic probably has done some version of this, even if it was just the Dunbury delusion. But this is a good one.
You know, I do a lot of shows for various police departments around the country, and in fact, I did one for the LAPD, and they were very nice to me. As a matter of fact, they're fantastic. I wasn't doing magic tricks. I was showing them how gamblers cheat, you know, how they do second deals and bottom deals. Well, one of the fellows who runs the fingerprint department said, gee, let me show you a little trick that I know. And what he did is he took his job, he's a fingerprint man. So he took his job and he turned it into this really great trick. And I mean, I'm not so good at it as he is. He was fabulous. I mean, and I haven't been doing it that long, but I'd love to show it to you because it's not really, it's a real fun trick, and if you practice it long enough, probably anybody could do it. All right? Okay. So here's how it is, very simple. What you do is, first of all, I give you the cards and you shuffle them up. Are you a card player at all?
No.
You're not. Would you just kind of mix them maybe? You know, just kind of just kind of do that. Just mix them up so that we know that they're thoroughly mixed. And then when they're thoroughly mixed, no, that's quite all right. I understand. If you'd have told me you were, you know, like a Vegas person, and that would have been a different thing. A lot of people don't play cards anymore, and they don't. Well, it's sort of Gardena-ish, if you ask me.
Maybe not.
All right. Well, I mean,
like Gardena.
Maybe.
Hard rooming Gardena. All right. That was.
What I want you to do now is
That was what now?
That was a joke about the poker room outside Los Angeles in Gardena, California. Right before you get to the 5 going down south, there's the card room in Gardena. So, are we doing the Bruce Cervon drinking game today? I just want to check. That's anytime he said, no.
Or you see.
Now, that time I felt like he was feeling more benevolent when he lied about, you know, he always is offended if he doesn't, you know. No, it's beautiful. It's great. You don't play cards. I mean, it's great. It's great. It's great. I mean,
I didn't feel like he had malice on that one. I felt like it was pretty innocent on that one.
It was. It's just, you know, I still am not into it. I'm not mad.
I want you to take out any card you like there. Any card you like.
Any card.
That's what they say. You've heard it say, take out any card, any card you like. Any card. Now, some magicians, you know, would just turn and say, now, look at the card you took out. See, but I don't want to play that kind of game. That's not fun. Take out anyone you like, honestly, seriously. That's great. I'm going to turn my head, and when I turn my head, I want you to show it to everybody who's at the table. I will have no opportunity to see it, and I'll tell you the truth, if I had the opportunity, I wouldn't take it. Because I am what you call an honorable, honest magician. Has everyone seen the card?
Yeah.
Put that card face down on that pad, all right?
Okay.
That's great. Now, I told you that the fellow that showed me this was a fingerprint, and he was. He really was.
I believe you.
Here's what I want you to do. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. Now, I want you to take your thumb, just as though you're being fingerprinted, and place your fingerprint on the back of that card.
Okay. Okay, it's there.
You've done this before, I can tell.
No, I'm not experienced with it.
Not much.
Did you see that? She knew exactly what to do. She even rolled it a little bit.
I'm going to turn my head again, and I want you to look at that card closely. If you can see any place on there where that fingerprint shows, well, Wipe it off. I don't want to take advantage. I don't want this to be easy. I want to
Okay.
show you that I can do it as well as the fingerprint guy downtown. All right?
Okay.
You remember?
Is there any possibility I'm going to be able to see it?
No, none
All
whatsoever.
right, good. All right, good. Put the card there. Put it into the deck. All right. Very, very simple little trick. What you do now is try to find the card that has your fingerprint. I mean, that was pretty obvious right at the start, I hope. I mean, everybody who's watching could think of that.
Yes.
Try to find your card, the one with the fingerprint. And I honestly don't even care where the card is, and I'm going to try to find it by looking through the cards, and the light is, it's pretty good in here because we're doing this little video thing, but still, when he did it, he had a very bright, kind of a high-intensity arc lamp, you know, and I mean, he really, but he could just run through and he'd find that card. He'd have no problem whatsoever finding, geez, there are a lot of possibilities here. Okay, well, all right. More than likely, one of these 5 cards. I'd say definitely one of these 5 cards is a card that you picked. 1 out of 5.
You think so?
I think. Hey, am I the magician or
Oh,
what?
yes, you are. We know.
See, I mean, it's got to be there. You know what I mean? I mean, there's
Very
no
laid
question.
back today. You are correct. He is very laid back today.
Yeah,
You can tell he's actually in his most peaceful place with it.
totally.
You know,
He's actually just hanging out and doing magic. Totally.
I really did like the guy. He was, and the fact that he was nice to me meant so much to me because he wasn't nice to anybody. That's
He was
what
not nice to a lot of people. That's true.
No.
It's true.
About
so
as far
nice.
as I'm concerned, but don't help me out on this.
Okay.
Don't help me out because I mean, you know, I'm not that good at it because the light.
Just to be clear, he still spoke to me the same way he does, and it was still like this all the time.
Sure.
It wasn't different, but you could just tell this is what it was like when he liked you. That's all. Okay, thank you.
He's just a little bit condescending.
Totally, but he was being sweet. It's funny. I mean, he was really just who he was. You know?
Light isn't good, and this is a hard thing to do.
Sure.
No, it's not. It's not easy. So don't help me out. I'm going to try it. I'll figure out which one of these 5 is your card. If I wasn't so vain, I'd put my glasses on so I could see it.
Not unaware.
It's not unaware. Totally.
He's not unaware. Ah. You guys are looking at real Vernon double lift right here.
Nope. Let me see your thumb. Oh, there's a little swirl there. Yeah, it's a very beautiful hand you there. Very nice. Very nice. That's very pretty.
Thank you.
All right. Ah.
Oh, you see it now.
Yeah, I got it now. No problem now. What was the name of the card, the one you took out of the deck?
A King of Hearts?
No. The one you took out of the deck.
King of Hearts.
King of Hearts.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Mike played a good spectator there. He grabbed those cards and flipped them right over, didn't he?
Was that Maxwell?
That was Maxwell, yeah.
Oh my God. You know, he said no once, and he said it 7 times is how he did it. He went, no. You don't- No. That was pretty great, right?
I think it's one of the great card tricks. I love that trick. It's
Just
one that'll be with me forever.
Is it the fingerprint thing or the Dunbarry concept? The this isn't
I like
that really is, you know.
I like the fingerprint concept because it's so different than any card trick premise that you've ever done. And people go along with the story. They believe it enough that they go with you on the ride of the trick so that when you get to the end, they're like, no, right? Because they're hook, line, and sinker. They go through the whole thing. And that card
So it's one of those tricks that when you try it, You just know after doing it once or twice that people just respond to the setup well. Yeah, I think maybe.
Yeah,
Like
it's probably worth it. We
I
should do this.
almost, I almost asked him to do it right now, but then I realized this wasn't the format and we didn't have the time. I was almost like, yeah, let's go through it. Because, it's beautiful and it's obviously lift based.
Yeah, right.
And
Technology wise, it's real easy. Everyone in this room could do this trick, right? It's really about that presentation. And it's a great trick for just connecting with people because, like I said, it's that story. People connect to it. Everyone's watched, police dramas. Everyone's watched, detective dramas. They understand it, or they know someone that's gone through the process of being fingerprinted. Everyone can relate to that enough that they can be with you. And it sets up the rest of the show in a way that I don't think you could otherwise, because everyone's just connected. They're with you. You're in an offbeat moment. You're doing this thing and you're like letting them in on a secret, and now you're off in magic land. It's a beautiful thing.
people used to have that same report about emotional reaction. They used to say the same thing, right? In terms of Vernon premises that were.
That's one of the great Vernon tricks, right? It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, so interesting. And another thing about Bruce that's very clear here, double lifts, so on and so forth. Again, you'll never see anything closer to Vernon's hands than Bruce's hands ever. And one of the things that may or may not be reading to you, but keep an eye out for it, is Bruce never actually looks like he's doing a move ever, to such a degree that when you're watching him, it's quite unremarkable from a sleight of hand perspective, and it can fool you. And I'm talking to, for example, right now I'm talking to the Palm Springs kid, for example. You got to keep an eye on it because he's so skillful. It works, and you watch it and you think, well, there's nothing to this. But that's because he's doing perfectly uniform double lifts. Everything looks the same. And, and the way that may affect you is that it just subconsciously doesn't get your attention. You don't think, ooh, look at that. That's how I want to do that. You see, when you see like a move, when you see a move that you want to learn, you're like, no, you like it. You want it. And so, but when you watch Bruce's, you don't feel that way because there's nothing to even get your attention as a magician. It's just
everything's perfectly covered by all the natural actions that occur and just conversation, right? It's really beautiful.
So I see everyone having conversations in the group all day about this stuff. Bruce's hands are who kind of hands you want to watch because it's literally what it would feel like if there was nothing to make an audience suspicious ever. And he's doing say again? It's like real magic.
Real magic.
Yeah, and he can do it all better than anyone. You know what I mean? It's great. And in fact, quick question: did he do Silk and Silver?
Yeah, we're gonna do that in the next one if you're into it.
And he does it masterfully, right?
I hadn't watched it in a few years, and it really is. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and it made me want to re-examine the things that I had made decisions on about the trick. You know what I mean? Because I like that trick. I do that trick. I really think it's a beautiful piece of magic, but I hadn't watched Bruce do it in so long that I had sort of forgotten details of how he did certain things. And it's making me reconsider some decisions that I had made. You know what I mean? And it's amazing, man. It's amazing. He's great. He's so good.
Yeah. And he's so great, again, that is almost invisible because,
Right. It looks like nothing's happening. It's really good. And there's some things that I probably am a little bit more forceful about than I need to be. And, seeing it again like that, like I said, it's making me reconsider things. It's
especially to learn that part from Bruce is pretty interesting and unexpected, right?
Totally. Because it's the weird part about it is it's like one of the first things that I ever saw Bruce do. The first time I saw Bruce, I saw him a couple times at the castle. The first time I saw him was when I was at a convention and he was promoting these Vernon Chronicles tapes that he had just shot, and they, selling the books, the whole thing. And he opened the lecture with Silk and Silver. And to me, it was like a foreign concept and this thing that was unobtainable. But I saw it and went, well, if I'm going to learn a coin trick, that's probably the one to learn, And I dove in head first, man. I loved it. And I asked him like real questions in the lecture, like I didn't understand like how a downs palm worked, right? So I asked like basic downs palm questions, like, I'll help you, young man. And like after that, he would see me around the convention, like, you're a smart kid. You're working on this stuff. I like you. You know, it was like that was my introduction to Bruce, man. It was really good.
Same exact vibe, right? Because like if you raised your hand and, you know, people in magic lecture, old school magic lecture, sometimes they would not have a question. They would just want to point some stuff out.
Totally.
And Bruce would,
Hey,
hey, right. But, you know, but if you ask Bruce, you know, a legitimate question about a Downs palm, you know, hey, no, that's a fun question. Right. That's a fun question. That's the kind of question you'd ask if you wanted to learn how to do this. You know?
Exactly.
Dominique, I'm glad that you are starting to love Bruce a little. You know, if we get out of this thing quick, maybe we can, after show, we can talk for a few minutes with Dominic about the
let's do this.
memorized deck. Did you see that memorized deck thread in the group the other day?
No, I missed it.
All right. They were all talking about systems and stuff, and I was feeling like, no.
No. You see what you need.
No. Oh, you ask a question. I don't have time to write a book on this. No. Okay. We got one more trick. We're going to do one more. A match made in Cincinnati. This trick puts the sin in Cincinnati.
This is a good one, man. I like this a lot. I remember seeing this when it first came out, when these videos first came
gamblers do a lot of crazy things that magicians love to watch. And this is a kind of a gambler's thing, as I said, that magicians like. But, you know, gamblers are known for cutting to any card that they want. You know that. You've heard a gambler could just cut to any card he wanted. Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty much true. And I'd like to show you just how that might work, all right? Now, let's just say, for example, that a gambler was going to cut to, he wanted a high card. Whatever that high card might be, I don't know, but let's make sure I know where these cards, that's good. Let's say he wanted a high card. Let's say that the gambler wanted to cut to a king. You know? So what he'd do here is he reached down about like this, see? And cut right there. Well, I'd say that looks like a king to me. See, now, let's say that they weren't playing for high card. Let's say they're playing for low card. That's always good, low card. Well, it would depend on whether aces were high or low, I'd say. But let's cut the cards about there. Now, what's the lowest card you can have and make sure it's a low card?
2. A 2.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey, you're pretty good. You're pretty good.
Thank you.
It wouldn't make any difference what the card is that you wanted. That's the funny part about it. I mean, like, what number do you like?
A 7.
7.
Yes.
No problem. Do you want it to be there or over here?
Over here.
See? Look, I'll tell you, you know, that the gamblers do these things, and they do them in a very interesting way. The reason they do them is because, but very few people know how a gambler would do that, or how he would, you know, handle it, because then he would give away his secrets, and that would be all the money gone. Mm-hmm. But there's one trick that a gambler really has very difficult time doing, and I'll show you what that trick would be. Here, let's fan out the cards like this. 52 different playing cards. I want you to just touch any one of those cards you like, but don't look at it. Just touch it and make certain that it's a free choice. All right? Which one was that?
This one?
Move it out a little bit so we'll know which one. Ah, good. Okay, that's the one right there. This is the card. Let's move these aside because I don't want you to think that I maybe like switch the card. You know what I mean? Because all the magicians are always into that switching stuff. You know, it's a terrible thing. And look, and this is not one of those tricks where you know, deal a lot of cards on the table or piles or anything like that. This is a really neat trick. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fan down to the cards like this, and I'm going to try to cut to a card which is a duplicate of the one that you pulled out, which in this case, this is the Queen of Hearts. Now we're going to, this time, what I do now is I simply cut the deck, And that should bring, unbelievable as it may seem, the queen to the top. And at exactly the same moment, a queen to the bottom. I mean, so far, this is fantastic. So obviously, we found the three queens. Over here, we have your card that you... Well, there's nothing to do at this point. The only thing you can possibly do is wave these over these like these and just change them into the three kings like that. Boy.
It's like one of those ultimate secrets tricks that LJ and Bruce were batting around as hard as they could, right, in the 60s.
Totally.
Heavenly.
But it's got, it's got that really beautiful thing that you can legitimately cut to any card when you're going through that sequence. The beginning of it is any named card, you can cut to it, and it's lovely, man. It's really
You really
lovely.
did cut to a named card, right? Because I think I got on the third phase after the king, and then after the 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
He beat me so bad.
Yeah, you got that 7.
That's the moment.
Do you want it there? Do you want it there? Yeah, exactly.
So, fooled me in the moment. I was just like taken unawares. I mean, he was pretty conscientious of those cards as the trick was beginning. So that happened.
Absolutely.
But I certainly went, ooh, didn't see that coming. And I had that feeling like when you get fooled that bad, you think, I kind of want to watch that. What you think is, maybe I wasn't watching careful. Right. Because your first assumption when you get fooled that bad is that, wait a minute, I'm sure I didn't get fooled that bad. Right. But of course you did. But the thing about that trick, you all should know, because you're inundated by hearing about those Vernon books. Probably in our gang, a lot of you have those Vernon books. Matching the cards, which is the plot we're talking about, which there's variations in those books. I think Ultimate Secrets, there's a few of Vernon's. And then you've got LJ's and Larry's, and they're all populated in there. It is literally we've heard on multiple occasions, that was one of those guys' favorite actual tricks. We're talking about a lot of these tricks are sort of tricks that they enjoyed playing with together. But that was a trick I think all of them felt was in that category with the LaPaul reselection. One of those sort of perfect commercial regular deck.
Bruce mentions that that Vernon thought it was the best gambling demonstration that there was because it's commercial, right? It's got all of the gambling stuff you'd want, plus it's got that knockout magical ending, and it's like a perfect gambling trick. It's got every element you'd want in it.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's wonderful. It's just such a good trick, and it's a real trick, and it's a good trick, and last night, everyone, there was some conversation last night about marketed tricks versus sleight of hand tricks. And last night we were talking about the virtues of marketed tricks, but I think it's fair to say in real life, the truth is I tend to favor the vast majority of tricks I do are sort of just tricks with a deck.
Sure.
And this is one of those tricks that can really deliver the plot and the astonishment and the amazement just from the deck of cards because of the elements involved, because it's got, and what you're saying, and this often happens when you look up Bruce, he's got versions of every one of these tricks that may in fact be the very best one. And it's certainly going to be, if it's not your favorite, it's going to be between that and the one you decide is your favorite. I mean, like, it's so good. Right. Like it's a tough one to say. I wouldn't want to be caught saying this in front of Billy Goodwin necessarily, just because he just side looked me. But I think if I had to pick one of those guys, right? I mean, that's a Vernon method, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely is. Yeah.
But generally speaking, the one Bruce's lie detector is the one I like the most. Like Bruce,
pretty great.
Like if I had to go to a desert island and I could only have one person's version of any one of those tricks, I would ask for Bruce's to be airmailed in for my.
I used to do it a lot, and I don't even remember why I stopped doing it. It's really like the best trick in that book, right? And what's that first book called? The blue one.
Which blue one? Vernon book? Oh, the
Oh,
Inner
the
Secret.
Cervon book, the blue Cervon
Oh,
book.
the Cervon file?
The Cervon file, that lie detector that's in that book, it's
Yeah.
the best one, man. I used to do it all the time and I forgot. I gotta write that down.
It's a great book, and it's got all those wonderful reverse tricks in it that, like, if I didn't have all those reverse tricks, right? The ones that Bruce has in there are just sensational. That lie detector is sensational.
It's the best.
All
I
of Bruce's
just wrote
stuff
it
is
down. I'm
like,
gonna be looking it up and relearning it this afternoon. It's a good one. It's so good.
I could watch all of those Bruce videos. I could watch all of those Lost Inner Secrets videos, because, this was all, it was still his favorite stuff.
Mhm.
Like he didn't just break out, he didn't do stuff on that video that he didn't love doing and wouldn't do a lot. You know what I mean?
He didn't go into that whole effort of making those notebooks happen for his personal use for nothing, right? It was because he kept on seeing beautiful things night after night and went, if I don't start writing this stuff down, it's just going to get lost because I'm going to forget it. And that's why we even have access to this material, because that dude was smart enough to like go, I should be cataloging this stuff. And no one's writing this stuff down. The professor has all these great ideas and these just need to be kept for history's sake. And, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, for having the foresight to do such a thing. Because literally all this stuff would just be lost to time, or someone else would take credit for it. I saw Vernon do this thing, but this is my trick inspired by Vernon's idea, right? And these things would just be lost to time. It's amazing.
And it happens in magic.
It happens in magic a lot.
It happens in magic.